In order to keep our relationships healthy, you first have to know what is a healthy relationship, because you need to know when something is not right with your man and your connection. And you have to be able to see the problems before they sabotage your relationship, which is what we're going to talk about today. What is a healthy relationship? I'm going to cover 8 signs of a strong and healthy relationship and some signs that it's not so healthy. Stick around. Hey, this is Cavallo from datingfire.com, and before we get rolling with this video today, make sure you do the big 3. What are they? Make sure you like and subscribe to the videos. Hey, if you like them, why wouldn't you? And of course, turn on notifications so you know when the next one comes out, and leave me any of your questions or suggestions for videos down in the comments below. Well, let me start right out by asking you, are you in a healthy relationship? In order to know that, we first have to ask, what are the parts of a healthy relationship? Well, a healthy relationship is when 2 people create a connection that's based on mutual respect for each other, of course, rock solid communication, truth and honesty, supportiveness, separate identities that come together, and I want to emphasize the separate on that, playful and fun shared experiences. Now, these are all very important, and we're going to explore them in a minute, but do you think you'd know if you were in an unhealthy relationship? I mean, it's easy to ignore certain warning signs and even get caught up in an unhealthy dynamic within a relationship. So what are the signs of an unhealthy relationship? Just as important as knowing what a healthy relationship is, you also got to know what is unhealthy. So let's go through a few of these signs right now. Absolutely get out of there. Sign number 1 of an unhealthy relationship is abuse of any kind. Now, this can be tricky because we have to define what abuse actually is. The dictionary definition is abuse, to misuse, the improper use of something. Also, use something for a bad effect or purpose. So, well, it ultimately comes down to you being able to figure this one out for yourself. Abuse is always about the misuse of your relationship connection. If he ever hits you, it's abuse, no matter what. If he uses words to hurt you in a mean or hateful way, then that's also abuse. Really, the bottom line is, if you're wondering if there is abuse, it probably is. Or it's at least as questionable as it needs to be for you to start looking at it. And you should probably check with somebody who you know has experience with this sort of thing. Someone who you can confide in, and then ask them what they think about it. But always trust yourself first. If you suspect you're in an abusive relationship, get out, and then you can sort out the details later on. Sign number 2 that it's unhealthy is he's controlling in some way. This is a big one. If your partner is trying to tell you what to wear, who to hang out with, or how to live your life in a way that is commanding or dominating, you need to consider this as him being controlling. You know, I could probably cover every one of these signs out there, but let's just skip to the chase and let me just give you a quick batch of unhealthy signals that you want to watch out for. Here are some of the signs to help you recognize a toxic and unhealthy relationship. All take, no give. A relationship requires generosity. Feeling drained all the time. If you're constantly losing energy in the relationship, where is it all going? Lack of trust, in other words, dishonesty. You have to have truth between you in order for your relationship to succeed. Hostile atmosphere. When all you have is anger, the love cannot thrive. An imbalanced and unfair relationship. There needs to be justice and equity within your relationship. Constant judgment of you. Judging is just another way to keep the distance. Reliably unreliable. When a person can't be counted on, that undermines your trust too. Brings out the worst in you. Obviously, you need someone who can bring out the best, not the worst. Constant criticizing. When a person tears you down all the time, it erodes your self-worth. Growth and learning are not there. A relationship should be a place for growth. Brings your standards down. If it's a good relationship, your standards should be naturally increasing, not decreasing. One or both of you behaves as a victim. Victimhood is a way of life for some people. Don't get drawn into this downward spiral. Lots of jealousy and envy. You can't love someone when you feel envious all the time. You're there because you can't seem to leave. Are you in this relationship because you can't find a way out? That's not a good sign. Constant daily challenges. Occasional challenges are natural in a relationship, but constant challenges, now there's a problem. Addictions. A person with addictions can be too much to deal with in a relationship. Psychological issues requiring help or therapy. Deep mental problems must be handled professionally. And constant drama. When all you have is a roller coaster of emotions to ride, you're going to want to get off. It really is up to you to decide how much is too much. But be aware, if you are rationalizing your relationship or Are you enjoying it? That's one of the best ways to figure out if you're in a healthy relationship. Okay, enough of the negativity. Let's get into what a healthy relationship is. Let's look at the good signs for you to watch out for. Sign number one, you've got a smile on your face. One of the biggest signs of a healthy relationship is simply how much happiness you feel on a daily basis versus the amount of anxiety. If you feel buoyant, light, and happy, there's a good chance you have a healthy relationship. One of the key indicators is how much stress you feel like you're carrying each day. Anxiety is kind of the opposite of happiness in a lot of ways because it pulls us towards fear and anger. Sometimes our relationships can give us stress, but most of the time they serve to help us vent that same stress. The more stress-free you are, the healthier your relationship is. So if you feel overall pretty happy in your relationship, generally speaking, you probably have a healthy relationship. But if you've ever noticed that there's this mental resistance or reluctance to be with your man for any reason or to really be there in the relationship, that could be showing you there's a problem that needs to be looked at. Might not even be him, might be something you need to look at for yourself. Sign number two, no matter what happens, you can talk about it. This is probably one of the most significant signs you have a healthy relationship. When it comes to communication, there is no substitute. You have to foster a relationship where he feels like he can come to you and talk to you about anything. Now, what gets in the way of that, unfortunately, is when a woman is less than accepting of him, possibly even rejecting him, and sometimes outright shaming him. A lot of men struggle in relationships because they don't feel accepted by their partner. And this is one of the easiest things for you to prevent. You have to be willing to talk with him about anything. If there are subjects that you won't go near, then you're risking the relationship harboring and hiding those secrets. What I tell my clients is no taboos, which simply means you can't have anything you wouldn't talk about with him, even the most embarrassing and darkest things. Sign number three, your relationship is built on the H-Rock. When I talk about the H-Rock, what I'm talking about, of course, is honesty. Honesty is the bedrock of your relationship, and it actually relates to the one I was just talking about, the no taboos. Without honesty, it's only a matter of time before your relationship disintegrates. When a relationship does have honesty, truth is the only outcome. You must be in a place to handle the truth, though. Again, this requires open communication, and of course, open communication requires safety. Make sure your relationship feels safe for both of you. Without it, your relationship does not stand a chance, and I really mean that. Sign number four, a couple isn't one. The best relationships understand that you can't be two people trying to create one person in the relationship. Trying to be too close creates poor boundaries. And eventually it will push you apart as one person feels smothered and really can't handle it anymore. On the other hand, if you understand that you are in basically two separate people, you can then start to come together as one. Separation can be as simple as having time alone in private or just time to yourself with other people. And another form of separation you have to have is emotional separation. If your partner's emotions depend on your emotions, then you've probably got a problem. They used to call this codependency, by the way. Sign number five, you feel fully supported and an individual. One of the hallmarks of a bad relationship is when one person feels pressure to change to accommodate the other person. Now, of course, if you're trying to be someone you're not, that's only going to end up creating a miserable relationship. On the other hand, if you feel your partner supports your growth and your development as a separate person, then you'll feel comfortable and worry-free in the relationship. Now, you have to watch out for when a partner decides that they are insecure with you growing. This is a very big warning sign of a dysfunctional relationship and an insecure relationship. That's where this always comes from, insecurity. When someone feels threatened in the relationship because you might grow past them or beyond them, they'll do whatever they can to keep things the way they were, right? Because that's threatening. You might even see this kind of behavior in larger groups, even in cultures and in countries and in politics. It's everywhere. Sign number six, plenty of connection time. Again, I have to contrast this with the opposite. In an unhealthy relationship, one partner tends to feel neglected. This is typically because that person isn't really engaged in the relationship. They're not feeling the same emotional connection. You should have lots of time together to connect, as well as time apart to recharge. It goes back and forth. It's kind of a swing and a pendulum. If I were going to give a percentage, okay, I'd have to say that now don't hold me to this, but you probably spend about 75% of your time together in a serious committed relationship and 25% apart. But there are no hard and fast rules for this. Some weeks you might swing towards 90% together and 10% apart. Other times you might have circumstances that get in the way and you spend much more time apart as the circumstances dictate. However, if you feel like you're not getting enough time with him, you need to speak up and let him know. As long as your needs are not unhealthy, then you should expect a decent amount, a significant portion of time together if you have a committed relationship. And especially if you're married or you're in a long-term relationship. Some women are just too quiet when it comes to voicing their needs to their partner. Sometimes this is out of fear of his reaction. Sometimes they're just afraid they'll seem too needy. And remember, neediness comes through no matter what. You can't hide it. Sign number 7, meeting in the middle. Compromise is an essential part of a healthy, mature relationship. If you find that your partner demands their needs be met at the expense of yours, you've got an imbalance that is unhealthy. Compromise is often thought of as giving something up to make the other person happy. But at the same time, if compromise is going to work, you can't give up making yourself happy too. Some would also describe compromise as meeting in the middle. Both sides come to the middle, which again is a decent definition if you find a middle that isn't too close to the other person, right? I mean, I like to say that compromise is a sign that your relationship is more important than your ego, which means that you have to have recognized the reason for compromise more than actually getting to that compromise sometimes. Does that make sense? You got to also realize the reason why you're trying to compromise. If that reason doesn't feel clear to you, that you're in love, that you have this relationship you're trying to work out, then the agreement you come to really doesn't matter. You both basically have to have an attitude of wanting to work it out. That's the critical part. Eventually, everyone finds a good middle ground. Sometimes that just takes time. For example, a man might just completely give in to whatever you're wanting if he's just given enough time to think about it. For a man, making you happy makes him happy. And sometimes we dig in and don't want to give up ground just to be stubborn, which of course is something that we all need to work on in relationships. All right, let's get to sign number 8. Emotions are manageable. Being able to identify and handle your emotions in a relationship is important. It's a sign of maturity and self-control. If you're feeling excited, angry, threatened, jealous, you name it, you have to be able to manage those feelings. Now, the interesting thing is that when you're in an unhealthy relationship, those feelings can sometimes spiral wildly out of control, kind of like a rocket that's just lost all its ability to navigate. And you know what? They often do. There's just something about a toxic relationship that brings out the worst in us. So you'll notice that happening quite a bit. On the other hand, a healthy relationship somehow steadies us. You're much more likely to be able to stay rational and level-headed even in the face of any arguments. And this is mostly because you understand that your emotional connection is safe. That's huge. When your connection with a man is threatened, that will immediately trigger feelings of anxiousness and panic. And if you've ever experienced those feelings before, you know how quickly they can get the better of you. And the truth is, you don't even have to panic when you're in a relationship that's built on solid connection. Unfortunately, most women don't really understand how to connect with men. And women assume that if they know how to connect with women, it's pretty much the same, right? No. Some things are the same and a lot of things are not. When you know how to connect with a guy, you can create a very powerful bond. And when a man feels that, he'll become devoted to you because it's a rare thing for a guy. He's waiting for that one huge signal. Now, what's really important is that you know how to read him like that. You got to be able to see what's going on with him and be able to interpret it and know what's going on the inside, because he's probably not going to offer it up. Raise your hand if you've ever had the experience of a guy not telling you what he's thinking or feeling. Come on, it's pretty much everybody, right? I know I've done it in relationships as well. The important part is that you understand what's going on in his side of the equation, and most women do not. Most men are complete mysteries to women, and unfortunately vice versa. I used to teach men how to understand women for many, many years. I started way back in 2002. It's been a long time. And then after, 6 or 7 years of that, I started to realize, you know what? I understand men so well that women need to know this stuff. It's something that they could understand and use much, much better. Anyways, look, we live in changing times across the board. Society, financial, health, things are changing, and we have to recognize that. One of the most important ways we can recognize that is to grow and adapt to it. Did you know that the reason that the dinosaurs, do you know why dinosaurs went extinct? A lot of people don't know this. They think it was that asteroid that hit the planet, but it wasn't. It was their inability to adapt and change to the environmental change that happened around them. That's what happens to a species, and that's what happens to people if they don't grow and evolve. Right now we live in the most amazing time. We have so much information. We understand, we actually do know what makes men attracted to women. We know what makes women attracted to men. We know what makes a successful relationship. And yet there's only a very, very small percentage of people that ever set out to learn those reasons and how it works. I thought this was crazy. I used to read books all the time about relationships because I had to understand what is it that makes it work, because I was such a miserable failure with most of my relationships. I was screwing them up left and right. And that's what you need to learn, is why men do what they do. You got to know how to read them. You got to know how to read his signals. Honestly, a man's signals are pretty simple and straightforward. It doesn't take much to teach you and show you how these things work. And that's why I created a very quick little program that'll help you out. It's a very inexpensive program too. It's less than $10, and it's something you can start learning now. Why not use this time wherever you are, whatever you're doing, to take just a couple of hours to learn how this stuff works, so that you're never caught off guard again, so that you don't have to go through that heartache and heartbreak again. Don't let yourself fall victim. Don't be a dinosaur. Don't be extinct just because you didn't adapt. Learn why men do what they do. Learn what they're thinking on the inside. What makes them seem so different, but really, they're mostly the same. Men are simple. We're very easy to learn, but we're not the same as women, which is what's going to throw you off. Now, if you want to learn this stuff, if you want to just get it downloaded directly into your brain, it's easy. That's why I created my programs the way I do. All you got to do is fire up a video or listen to an audiobook or even read it in ebook format, and you can get all this information just downloaded straight into your brain. In fact, I got an easy way for you to do that right now. Go on over to the link you see below me here. That's datingfire.com/signals. That's datingfire.com/signals. Go to that link, go check it out, and you'll learn the same stuff. Exactly how to understand him and how to read his signals. And hey, before you run away, make sure you do the big 3. As I said before, if you like these videos, why don't you subscribe? Go ahead, go for it. Like it, subscribe to it, and of course, turn on notifications so you know when the next one's coming out. Hint, it'll be next week. And of course, leave me your questions and comments below in the comments. I do check them out from time to time, and I use them to figure out what the next video is going to be about. Hey, this is Cavallo from datingfire.com and datingadviceguru.com. Also, there's more of this article that I couldn't cover today that you might want to read. Go check it out. I got a ton of free articles over at the site. Go on over to, again, datingfire.com. We'll take you right over to the blog, and you can read all this great stuff. Wherever you are, I hope you're staying healthy, safe, and I will be talking to you again soon. This is Cavallo. As always, live and love with passion.